Explain best you can, because, again, I just said earlier on at the top of our program, you were kind enough to send out the document that included the latest revision on the kickoff rule to all of us in the NFL Media Group email chain, and I popped it open. It's 10 pages long. 10 pages. So can you do your best to describe to everybody what is on the table and how you think it might get voted on with the kickoff rule, Tom?
It's funny, Rich, because, when Rich McKay was talking about this, he basically prefaced everything in the press conference by saying, if you haven't seen this before, like if you watched XFL, which is a variation of it, if you haven't seen it before, it seems really complicated. If you haven't read the whole rule, it's really complicated. I've seen it and I've read the rule. It's still very complicated. The shortest way to put it out there, Rich, is you're going to have the kickoff. The actual ball and the kicker are still kicking from the same place on their side of the field. The difference is, rather than having the setup zone, the players on the kick return team and the kickoff team lining up on the minus side of the field, in other words, the side where the ball is kicking, we'll have a setup zone. It's on the plus side of the field toward the receiving team side of the 50-yard line. The receiving team's on the 35. Kickoff team is on the 40. What that does is that reduces the space and speed of the play. Because what special teams coordinators over the past several years have been charged with is come up with a rule that encourages returns, but also gives us a more palatable injury rate. Because this is another play where the league will always say there are much more injuries on kickoffs than any other play because you've got these extreme high-speed collisions. So basically, you're going to have the kickoff is going to go over the top of both the kickoff and the kick return teams. There's going to be a landing zone where the ball has to go. It either needs to land on the ground there or needs to be fielded there. If you kick it short, that's a penalty. If you kick it over the top of them into the end zone or you kick it through the end zone, that's a touchback. Rather than coming out to the 20 or the 25, this is the modification last night. It's now going to come out to the 30. They actually were going to have it come all the way out to the 35-yard line. But basically, the theory on making it the 30 instead was there's going to be times in the game where you just don't want to risk the big return. And so you need to have some slightly less punitive way to just kick the ball over everybody's heads and start the next possession here. You can expect, by virtue of the fact that the kickers are being legislated to put the ball in play, you're going to have more returns. The skepticism, and I talked to a lot of head coaches, Rich, over the weekend. We did a bunch of sit-down interviews for NFL Network and then just talking to people in the restaurants, maybe the bars at night, how these league meetings go. I've heard a lot of different, versions of the unintended consequences of this. Maybe the most intriguing of them was one coach who said, you have basically like we're playing cover zero, but on a kickoff. If you have everybody lined up 5 yards apart and there's nobody behind, then if the kick returner penetrates that first line of defense, you're gone. We could end up having a ton of kick return touchdowns, and that play could end up being unevenly weighted in terms of its impact on the outcome of the game. So then we'd be going from a completely dead ceremonial play, as Troy Vincent put it back in December, to a play that you might have a kick return multiple times every Sunday. And I'm not even saying that that's a bad thing, but coaches are always wary of, de-weighting any particular part of the game or adding added weight to it here. It'll be interesting to see. That's all part of the discussion. That's why, unlike hip drop, which, like I said, was destined to be voted through no matter what, I'm taking a little bit more time. I would imagine there's going to be some further conversations. There could even be tweaks because, Rich, the other thing that this new kickoff rule, what they're calling the NFL hybrid kickoff, because, of course, they don't want to call it the XFL kickoff rule. One of the things that they did not change was the onside kicks. The onside kicks are going to look exactly like what they looked like over the past couple of years, which, based upon how rare it is for a recovery, you still don't really have the opportunity to recover a kick. Now, on top of it, you can't surprise anybody because you have to declare it because the formation is different. And the Eagles' 4th and 20 alternative to the onside kick got voted down for like the 8th year in a row.
Well,
so something's got to be done about the onside kick, but they're trying to change and fix the broader kickoff play first.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.